Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Gregg, and we're going to continue our discussion of biblical chronology. In our last segment, we discussed 390 years for the sin of Israel and the 40 years for the sin of Judah. And we discovered, by a simple back-of-the-envelope division by 7 and 49 of the sum total, 430 years, that these time periods should contain 70 land Sabbaths that Israel and Judah together did not keep. And now we're going to go into details on where those land Sabbaths are. Okay, we're going to go back close to the time of the Exodus, when they entered into the land of Israel. There we go. Okay, they entered the land of Israel and they started counting the cycles. 1 for the Jubilee cycle. Okay, and then in the 7th year they kept a sabbatical year. And then there was an oppression that came along when they rebelled against Yahweh. Okay, this oppression lasted 8 years. The oppression or servitude to Cushan Rishathaim for 8 years, and we have 8 years for the sin era. Now if we look over here in the sabbatic period column, we see that there's one sabbatic period at the beginning of this 8 years, and there's a second sabbatic period or year at the end of this 8 years. So essentially Israel did not observe 1 and 2 sabbatical years here, marked with the brown here and numbered, 1 and 2. Okay, now we're going to go next. Then they were delivered by Othniel. Okay, and then after 40 years they rebelled again and were in servitude to Eglon, the king of Moab. Okay, and during this 18 years of servitude to Eglon, king of Moab, they totaled up 3 more sabbatical years that they did not observe. 3, 4, 5, for a total of 5. 3 more, so that the total comes to 5, including the 2 from Cushan Rishathaim. Then they were delivered by Ehud for 80 years. And in that 80 years, fell a Jubilee, so they kept the year of Jubilee there, and quite a number of sabbatical years which they would have kept when they were serving Yahweh and not false gods. Okay, let's come to the end of Ehud here. After Ehud died, they rebelled again, and they served Jabin of Hazor for 20 years. Okay, and again, the sin era accrues more years from 27 to 46. And in this period of time, yet 3 more sabbatical periods or years they would not have observed. 6, 7, and 8, bringing the total to 8 sabbatical years they did not observe. Then they were delivered by Deborah. At the end of Deborah, when she died, they were oppressed by Midian for 7 years. And in a 7-year period, there can only be exactly 1 7th year. So this 7th year they didn't observe, brings the total to 9. Then they were delivered by Gideon and oppressed by Abimelech for 3 years. And in this 3 years, there aren't any land Sabbaths. So the count does not increment during Abimelech's, just the count of years. That's going to make a total of 390 years. And then 40 years after that for the sin of Judah. Okay, then let's back up here a little bit. Abimelech is followed by Tola for 23 years. followed by Jair for 22 years. And then the Ammonites took over all of Israel for the Ammonite oppression, which lasted 18 years. Okay, and the number of years for the sin of Israel goes from 57 to 74. And in this period we have 3 more land Sabbaths that were not observed, accordingly numbered here 10, 11, and 12. And you see this is next to the sabbatical year over here in the sabbatic year period column. I didn't explain this column here. I could throw this in here with these little tiny shaded colors. These are actually seasons in each year. Okay? Yellow stands for summer, green for spring, blue for winter, and orange for the fall. After the Ammonite oppression, they were delivered by Jephthah, and we get several minor judges, Ibzan, Elon, Abdon, and there's a Jubilee in there, so that of course is not counted in the total of 70 land Sabbaths, because they were observing these. Neither is the 7th year. At the end of Abdon's judgeship, the Philistines took over for 40 years. I call it Philistines 1, because there were 2 Philistine oppressions. There was one for 40 years and one later for 20 years. Okay, and during the Philistine oppression we have sabbatical year number 13 they didn't observe, 14, 15, 16, and 17. The Jubilee year is also a sabbatical year. It's a land Sabbath. However, it's not the 7th year. It's the year after the 7th sabbatical year in the cycle. So that counts for 17, 18, 19. And then the Philistine, Samson pushed down the pillars of the Philistine building. Could have been a temple, one of their temples that he pushed down. And then the high priest Eli judged Israel for 40 years. Okay. When Eli was old, in the 40th year, his sons decided they would go to war against the Philistines, and they lost. And the Philistines took the ark, and they sent it back, but Israel was in rebellion for 20 years. And during this 20 years, land Sabbaths 20, 21, and 22 count up. Okay. During Samuel's judgeship, nothing counted against him. During Saul, king of Israel, nothing counted against him. So they actually didn't go into rebellion again, officially as a nation, until we get to the divided kingdom. Solomon's son Rehoboam, and the first king of the northern tribes, 10 tribes, Jeroboam. Now Jeroboam had a promise from Yahweh that he would have a successful dynasty, an age-lasting dynasty, if he followed his commandments. But Jeroboam, after he got hold of the kingdom of the northern kingdom, did not trust the promise of Yahweh, and he decided that he would set up golden calves at Dan and Beersheba, or at Dan and 2 high places. Okay, not Beersheba, but he caused the Israelites to bring their offerings and sacrifices there, and he prevented them from going up to the temple. And this is referred to as the sins of Jeroboam, that he led Israel astray. Rehoboam, the kingdom of Judah, walked righteously for 3 years. However, the sin era here pertains to the sin of Israel, as separate from the sin of Judah. So we're going to continue to count the sin era here, 135, 136, 137, and so on. Okay, so during the reign of Jeroboam we have the 23rd land Sabbath they didn't keep, the 24th land Sabbath they didn't keep. Now, if you do a study of the kings of Israel, you will find out that not one of the kings of the northern kingdom was righteous. However, there were a couple interregnums in which the people could have repented for a brief period of time. We know that from where the 390 years end, however, where these periods could have been. But for the most part, none of the kings of the northern kingdom walked in the law, in the Torah of Yahweh. They all rebelled. They were all specified as wicked by the scripture. Alright, so during this period we have a continuous string of land Sabbaths they didn't keep. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, another Jubilee, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, another Jubilee, okay, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, another Jubilee, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, another Jubilee, 52, 53, and we get to one of our interregnums over here in the northern kingdom. No king in the northern kingdom. Okay, and over here Uzziah is on the throne of Judah, so he's righteous. So we have a possibility of a period, and actually this period could slide around somewhere in here, but this is, if we would have too many years if we counted these. This comes from other chronological data that makes for an unambiguous chronology. What these arrows mean is that this could slide around in this interregnum here somewhere, and it only contains one land Sabbath that they would have kept. Okay? 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, another Jubilee. Okay. 59, 60, 61, 62, 63. We see that in the 63rd sabbatical year they didn't keep, that they're up to 386 years of sin. 387, 388, 389, 390. And the 390th year is synchronous with 720 BC, okay, and the exile of the northern kingdom to Assyria. Okay, and we came up with 63 land Sabbaths, counting the 7th year and the Jubilee year land Sabbaths, counting them all. Okay, then we come down, Hezekiah was righteous, and we're talking about the sin of the southern kingdom here now, because the northern kingdom is gone. Okay, and the next segment I'm going to count up the years for the sin of Judah too, and we're going to figure out our total.